Hey Reef Futures, Gator Halpern here from Coral Vita. Thanks so much for having me and for the organizers of Reef Futures. Amazing event. Really excited to listen to all your guys' talks and to hopefully connect with you all in the near future. So for those of you who don't know us, here at Coral Vita, we're a reef restoration company based in Freeport, Grand Bahama. So I'm here at our coral farm, which many of you will recognize what kind of operation I have behind me here. It's a traditional land-based coral farm where we have production at our core. So we're trying to produce here at the coral farm, scaled for 30,000 corals now. We're hoping to get to 100,000 corals a year in the near future. Our farm's also a research center, so we have a lab. We do a lot of research on how we can innovate and make reef restoration and coral farming more efficient. And we also use the farm as an education center for local communities who come in here and learn why reefs are so important, what's going on with them, and what we can do to sustain them. So I'm sure that's similar to a lot of the places where you guys work and live, and you've seen that before. What makes our farm a little bit different than most out there is that we actually do this in a commercial fashion. So we are trying to develop revenue streams that'll allow us to really scale up our work and make more impact out on the reef. So the first of those revenue streams is being an ecotourism attraction. You might see that our farm is set up fairly aesthetically. Behind the camera, here's a whole welcome center. We have a cafe, we have an education zone with aquariums, touch tanks, and we have a lot of guests that come through, and that ecotourism funding helps to sustain our work. But really the scalable revenue stream that we're much more excited about in terms of the impact we're trying to create is selling the service of reef restoration to the range of stakeholders that benefit from having a healthy reef. And so trying to shift the conversation a bit of reef restoration from traditional models of getting grants and philanthropic funding to do restoration projects into having a conversation about these are the values that your reef is creating, and you can benefit from those values in greater fashion in the future if you sustain your reef through restoration, through conservation measures, and creating the business conversation in the marketplace where stakeholders can actively invest in the resources, the reef resources that they benefit from. Many of you might have heard that recently at Coral Vita, we were honored by winning the Earthshot Prize, which was put on by Prince William and the Royal Foundation in the UK. It was an incredible honor that we're very proud of, and really proud of the hard work that the entire Coral Vita team has put in to get to this point. It's been a rocky road over the past few years here in the Bahamas with Hurricane Dorian and then of course the pandemic. But we're excited about where we are and the progress we've made. We just signed our first contracts with the government of the Bahamas and the Grand Bahama Port Authority to do larger scale restoration work in the future. And we're excited about the recognition for Coral Vita, but we're even more excited about how this prize is really a recognition for the entire reef restoration community in general. We know that we wouldn't be doing this work without the amazing organizations that are out there doing reef restoration work around the world, and those that have developed the field of reef restoration, from Florida to practitioners through the Caribbean and the Pacific and the researchers in the Red Sea. We would not be here without all of the scientists and practitioners that have created the field of reef restoration that we hope we can continue to collaborate with and build on so that this field can really be uplifted as a whole. And so I was asked to talk a little bit about the vision we have for Coral Vita, and on the back of winning the Earthshot Prize, what we plan to do to try to increase our impact. And we really believe that reef restoration needs to evolve from where it is today with a lot of players doing amazing, inspiring work really to do reef restoration at local levels into a multi-billion-dollar industry that's actually able to scale and make the impact we need to when we think about the enormity of this issue and how large of a response society is going to have to make to reef degradation in order to sustain these magical ecosystems we all love so much. And so really we're trying to play a role in helping to jumpstart a marketplace for reef restoration where those billions of dollars can be invested directly into reef restoration projects that provide meaningful outcomes for the customers that are paying for that restoration. And so that conversation is a bit different than what has been traditionally put forth in the reef restoration world and is increasingly becoming clearer as people understand better the benefits derived from coral reefs and the enormous value that the reef restoration community can provide to stakeholders through our work. And we know we can't do that alone. We know there needs to be hundreds of reef restoration organizations and companies around the world that can do this work. And so we are committed to working closely with the reef restoration community and doing our best to uplift all organizations around the world that are interested in working with us to learn how to do different techniques, methodologies, use some of the technology and innovation that we use here at Coral Vita, and to enable other organizations and practitioners to do that all around the world. And so I hope you guys get the feeling that we are not a traditional corporate company trying to get as much profits as possible. We truly are a mission-driven company, and we've only ever taken investment from mission-aligned investors who understand that first and foremost, our mission as a company is to sustain and restore coral reef ecosystems. And in order to do that, part of our work is the work we do here and through ecotourism, selling service of reef restoration in order to scale and support our efforts. But another portion of that is to really facilitate the reef restoration community to be able to help achieve that vision. And so we're exploring how we can do that better in the future. And on the back of the Earthshot Prize, we are having conversations with a number of leaders in the reef restoration community to see how we can potentially create a foundation that is focused on scaling open source technologies or creating, open source technologies that can scale reef restoration. And so we're exploring partnerships with different organizations, and we really want to integrate this with the great organizations out there that are already working in this field. So with the Coral Restoration Consortium and their working groups, as well as with Coral Tech, which is really interesting. They're giving a presentation at Reef Futures, which basically would aggregate the different solutions being developed and work closely with all the people that are working to develop technologies that will help us scale reef restoration around the world and do so in an open source manner so that anyone in the world working on reef restoration can use these technologies and techniques in the future. And so if you're interested in learning more about that, in getting involved in what we're doing here at Coral Vita and in collaborating in how we can create the types of tools, technologies, and methods we need in order to grow billions of corals each year that are climate change resilient, that can restore reefs and sustain them for generations to come, please reach out, Gator at coralvita.co, and we would love to talk to you all on how we can bring the vision that we all share of restoring these reefs back to life and to sustain them well into the future. Thanks a lot.